Hello, everybody. I'm making one of my first trips since being with long COVID, and I did really well, and I'm just feeling, yeah, very happy about that. So my world has gotten bigger, and yeah. So I wanted to share with you something as I was up here talking with my friends and consultants, and we were looking at, we've been developing more about love scoops and talking about when people are doing love scoops. Almost everybody starts out thinking, oh, this is sort of silly or stupid. I feel kind of weird doing this. Why are we doing this? And I knew when I created love scoops that it was kind of a work in progress, because faint is also a work in progress, that so many people don't realize that they are in faint, and that what faint is. And so as I was playing with that, and one of the things I've introduced in the last couple of years for sure is that developmentally, your agency, that is I'm here and I get to participate in my own life and I get to make choices, starts with reaching. So until then, because, babies aren't organized in the beginning, and they just kind of jellyfish around. And then there's this directionality that develops and a reaching. And the reaching is, there's life out here, and I'm here, and I can connect to life, and I can participate in life. And so that reaching I've had become part of Love Scoops, is that I'm reaching out. But then over the weekend, what I opened up to is, it's not just that I'm reaching, but that I want. So I believe all reaching was really a recognition of, ooh, I want. It could be, ooh, I want that bright thing, or ooh, I want the, I want, and then bringing it in. And then, so there's two elements of that, is, am I willing to want and to reach, and am I willing to receive? And so I'd like you to tune into your wanting. And if you have difficulty wanting, which most people do, I know, because we have a lot of Judeo-Christian stuff about not wanting, and and that wanting is bad. So if you have difficulty with that, in the back of Conscious Loving, we have an activity called the Choice Map, and I've found that to be incredibly useful for just exploring wanting, the whole idea of I want. So just right now, let yourself, you're all muted right now, so I'd like you to play with I want. And then just pausing a moment and noticing how you experience that in your body. I want. And what I notice when I'm doing that right away is that I'm careful about my tonality. So I don't want to say, I want. Like sometimes in the grocery store, you'll see a mother's got 4 kids and all of them going, I want. And so I, of course, don't want to do that. I want to be just much more civilized, that it's really fine if I don't have it. I want it, but oh, it's cool, if you want it more. So I'd like you to just say, I want, in all kinds of different tonalities, and you might even get some persona into it. I want, I want, or I want, but I know I'm never going to get, but I want. Yeah, and so play with, and pause, and then just notice, one, is it possible for you to play with wanting? And two, do you have a large wanting vocabulary? So can you play with the range of I want? So I'd like you to maybe make it a little snotty, like, I want, and you should have already known what I want, but I want. Or I want, I'm confused, but I want. So just activating, even as we're playing with this, I can feel my, my wanting muscles kind of waking up. And a lot of that too is in your back. And I was just thinking about the correlation between reaching out and bringing in and the anger zone in your body, which is just between your shoulder blades, between your reachers. And so if, for example, I reach out and then someone says, are you going to eat all that? Or you don't really want that? And then I kind of have a contraction. And I was just thinking about how much anger might be thwarted once that I either don't let myself really want, or I get sidetracked when I'm wanting. So that's the sort of the reaching out. So I'd like you to just notice what it's like for you to just reach out, not even bringing in, but just reach out and reaching out to the side. And are there places where you don't reach, or the reaching territory feels really unfamiliar to you? And so that the reaching out, and then I just immediately had this experience, I had this memory of being at some event with my parents, and I wanted a particular cookie that was on the spread, and I reached out for it, and my mother said, "Oh, you don't want that." And there was this like bad to want. So I think it's really valuable for us to identify and move through the it's bad to want, or you can't want, or you have to think of other people first. So the other part of that is bringing it in. So I want and I have. So reaching out and then bringing in. And I think, bringing in here, because this is our gorilla place. So reaching out and bringing in here. For me, I immediately had mine come up. So reaching out and mine. And is it okay for it to be yours? Is it okay? What happens in your body when you bring it in? It's mine. So I think many of us will have a little chorus in our heads about all of the reasons that we shouldn't bring it in, and we shouldn't have it, and we shouldn't keep it. So I invite you to play with this week, standing, sitting, walking around. You're at the grocery store, and instead of just picking it, I want those radishes. Whoa. And so that you let yourself play with wanting and having. And as I'm doing that with you, I can feel how much more energy I have. It's kind of waking up my agency and my engagement with life. And so I want you to connect love scoops with wanting, because I have a sense that the love scoops have been kind of la la la, everything is love. So adding in that wanting is lovable, and that I can, and that it's really essential to creating the life that you desire is actually identifying, is this something that I want? Oh, I thought I wanted, but now that I've got it, it really wasn't what I thought it was. So this kind of discernment about what is really valuable to bring into your space. So it has to do also with the card that I want to show you today. But I wanted you to just, before we do that, I wanted you to just take a moment and feel, is it okay, and maybe actually even a kind of a wonderful thing for you to want? And if you can be a source of, it's just fine to want, and wanting is part of how you make choices in life, and wanting and then having. So wanting and then getting, and then I want to add one more thing to it, which is savoring. So wanting, having, and then So you could add a hum to it, So getting, like just like the hot piece of toast with just the right kind of butter that you love, and mmm, savoring. Because I grew up, I just had an image of my two brothers. And so I was a savorer all my life. So as a kid, when we would have dinner, my mother would make sure that we all sort of had equal amounts. I always thought she favored my older brother, and I think that's true and demonstrable, but she thought she was being fair. So I would arrange the things on my plate. So I would save my last bite that had sort of everything in combination that I loved. And almost always one of my brothers would steal it. So, so the whole wanting and then having, there can be dramas around all of those different elements of wanting and then having and then savoring. So I'd love for you to play with that this week, because I had so many memories just sharing this with you, and I imagine that you will have memories or things that will come up that will allow you to remove debris that's been in the way of your actually experiencing the, oh yes, yeah, that's, do you want, and when somebody says do you want, you're going to be going to that same place. Would you like to, like last night with someone, would you like some wine? And I went, no, because I went into my wanting place, and my wanting place said no. It's a fine idea, but no, I don't want it. So which leads me to our card for today, which I'm going to just take a drink first. So,
That was funny. Just one
yeah.
sec.
Okay, no problem. So it's helping us get organized here. So we're still exploring agreements. So for those of you who maybe haven't been here in some mornings, I decided I wanted to really focus on each one of the four pillars for a month or so, however many cards we have. And I wanted to start with agreements, because agreements are the foundation of integrity. And if I'm impeccable with my agreements, then everything else works better. So I love this card. It's pretty much you can pretty much tell what we're going to be talking about here. But I want you to see that the ruby shoes are down there underneath the open mouth. So your pathway to where you want to go and where you don't want to go is embedded in this card. And so here is the sentence: I follow my body signals that let me know I don't want to make a particular agreement. And so let yourself just tune into, I follow my body signals. What are your body signals that let me know I don't want to make a particular agreement? So we'll talk about this in just a minute. So just notice when you try that on, what are your body signals that let you know? And in my experience, they're very subtle. If they're very loud, you've missed it, because if it's very loud, you're inside, you're going, no, no, no. There's this great Steve Martin movie where he's consulting his dead wife about whether he should get involved with this woman who's actually, so she's actually a killer. And the picture, he says, Sarah, should I marry this woman? And the picture starts going around going, no, 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 no. And then when it's finished, he goes, okay, I think I'm going to just put you in the closet for a while. So the ways that we don't hear and don't respond to those inner signals. And then the question is, how can I easily say no to agreements I do not want to make? And even as I'm reading that, I start feeling a little squirmy. And I want you to notice, if when you're trying that on, do you have any, who can you not say no to, in your personal life, in your professional life, among your friends, your colleagues? How can I easily say no would you be willing to learn how to just easily say no? That it doesn't have to be, well, no, because, and maybe I can do it later. And I have so many, and basically going victim about it. Well, I just have so much to do already that I couldn't possibly do it. So the whole area I've found, and particularly as Gay and I were developing our work and I was getting more out into the world, that what I said no to opened the space for what was such a much better yes. And one of the things Gay said many years ago is that the power in any situation belongs to the person who can say no. And it's more, and I don't think of it as a power over, as more of a power with, that I'm not willing to weave with this particular agreement. So let's come back to the big group, because I'd love to have you play with this a little bit. I'd like you to consider, doesn't have to be like a formal contract or anything, but is there an agreement in that, or making an agreement that's current in your life? That, there's, some, it could be a big thing or a little thing. It could be like we've made agreements about having our fence repaired, or so it could be something like that. Or it could be a really big agreement, like I'm leaving you now, or I'd really like to do this with you, but I'm afraid you're going to say no. So what I'd like you to just consider is, what are your signals that that an agreement is a no for you? And some of them, and if you think of some, put some of them in the chat so that other people go, oh yeah, that's something I didn't even consider. So for me, there's one of the early warning signals is I get it's one of my no places is that my ears pull back. My ears pull back, and it's like my ears don't want to hear this. So when I tune into it creates just a slight little fuzzy. When I'm looking and considering the agreement, it's kind of a that happens. And it starts here, and it's a little bit in the back of my head. And if I don't pay attention to that, it does go into my anger zone. That my body goes, what? I told you not, I don't want to do that. So things will escalate. So one thing I want to invite you into this week is tuning into your signals about agreements. Now, tuning into your whole body yes and whole body no is something that we can explore. That's sort of like the source material. But the application to agreements is so vital, because one of the other things that's just occurring to me that we've experienced that is Gay and I, for decades, is another phrase that I actually invite you to write down. Little problem at the beginning, big problem later on. And so little problem at the beginning, and especially little problem at the beginning that you don't handle, big problem later on. And so that's why I have over the years gotten really available to get those messages from my body, because my body will pick it up before my brain. And the signals from your body get to your brain 4 to 10 times faster than your cognitive thoughts. So you want to give your thoughts something to work with. Paying attention to your signals from your body, and then as you're playing with them in your mind, you go, oh, and so, and also if you play with them in your body, you take the signal. If I were to develop that into, it were developed into a gesture or a movement or a sound, what might that be? So the fuzziness in the back of mine, my head wants to go like, this doesn't make sense. And so if you let your curiosity go into those early sensations and let them bloom a little bit, they can give you some directions like, no, I need more information, or, oh, I'd really like to, but the timing isn't good, or very often there's something else going on over there. So do I have all the information about this agreement? It feels like there's something else that I'm not receiving all of the information. So the more that you open up to the body signals about, I don't want to make this agreement, I think the more flowing your life will be. So I want to invite you to practice. And I'd like to just start right now. No, no, I don't want to make this agreement. No, this agreement doesn't work for me. And I found myself going, right now. It's like, no, this agreement doesn't work for me right now, but I'm still keeping the door open. So it could be later. So, because I don't want to, I'm afraid that I might lose the connection if I just said, no, this doesn't work for me. So you might have fear come up. So in which case you can do, some fear melters, and but your ability to say no and remain cheerful, your ability to say no, I don't want to do that, and still be connected, have regard for you and the other person or the group. I think those are some of the nuances that make your experience of making agreements so valuable, as you're moving through the world and you're creating the different things that you want to do. So the wonderful world of agreements. And whenever I feel just sort of a general wobble in life, like, I'm not quite, I don't feel like I'm on track, or, I feel sludgy, or I'm not really having the kind of support of the universe where things are flowing with ease. Take a look at agreements, and almost something will pop up, and it may be also like just a little thing, that's not a big deal. And I want to tell you that all agreements are a big deal, and they're all about the thread of wholeness that allows you to keep participating in your life with verve. And that's what I would like for everybody, is lots of verve. Oh, one of the things that was so incredible, my friends and I went out to dinner a couple of nights ago down at the beach, and we were sitting there, we had a view. We were coming out, and suddenly there were thousands of birds. Thousands of birds that came by, out in the ocean. Just were, it was like a freeway. There was just so many birds. And then we came home and we found out that a year ago on the same day, my friends had a picture of, they were at the same place, and the same birds were coming through. And so the flow of life, and how different things will enter and move through, and they have the freedom to do that because your agreements are creating flow rather than obstacles. So the refinement of you being with agreements will create so much liveliness in the rest of your integrity skills, because it's foundational. And, when you got holes in your foundation or leaks in your foundation, everything else gets really wobbly. But when you have a solid foundation, that creates a lot of ease. So that's that. And now let me pull up my Presence Connect play and see what we've got for today. I also like how it says tap for a new combo. So I did a little feet tapping. Tap for a new combo. So, presence fear melters. Ooze, root, wiggle, love scoops. I invite you to just sprinkle fear melters throughout your day. because there's just so much fear going on right now. Just, when you're like going in the door to a meeting, or, feeling your feet before you go out into the world, or you're making a transition, just letting the fear melters be of support to you in befriending fear, because because of the what's going on in the world right now, that I was going to use an expletive, but I'm not this morning. But there's just a lot going on out there. And so, fear melters, and particularly remember, you can do fear melters with your face. So if you're not in a place you can involve your whole body, you can do fear melters. You can ooze your face and wiggle your face and sumo and root your face. So, so presencing. So connect. Connect is appreciate everyone as a work of art. And some works of art, like I go into a museum and I go, whoa, that, yeah, that I know it's here in the museum and that's a work of art. I mean, it's not something I would put in my living room, but there it is, and that's a work of art. So if you're willing to appreciate, that is, to give your sensitive awareness to the unique work of art that everyone is, it will give you a felt sense of connection and really invite people around you to begin thawing out and appreciating themselves as a work of art. And then play. Play is match and make bigger. Match and make bigger. So matching, let yourself try it on as if you were, what we used to do in my dance therapy time, it was we do what we called mirroring. So you do exactly what you're seeing. And I do that with people, but I do it very subtly. I don't do it like I'm a clown and, taking their stuff and making it bigger, but I try it on inside. And that then allows me, when I try it on, I'm matching it. And then if I make it bigger, that allows me to start playing with it, because it interrupts the pattern. Because usually if, in a pattern, and particularly if you're exploring and working with a client, for example, in the coaching world, or in the even with friends, if I have something going on, almost always somebody's going to try to get me to stop doing it, or to calm down, or to just cool it, or to try to help me fix it. And what Gay and I do is ask you to make it bigger. And that is, you think, well, but I'm trying to get rid of it. How can I get rid of it if I'm making it bigger? So that dichotomy, I think, is really a source of a lot of exploration. If you'd be willing to, I was just thinking earlier in my relationship with Gay, and he would say something that he thought I was doing, and I would defend myself. I'd immediately defend myself, like, I'm not doing that, and no, you're doing that, and we get into a criticism. So now, and as part of our play, he'll say, you got a limp going there, and I would say, oh yeah, it's getting worse, and I'd start, I just go ahead and take it on and start playing with it, and then some other move will occur, like. Some kind of a play, tossing, having a whole other idea come up. So taking what you're doing and making it bigger allows you to give your attention to it, and allows it to flow into how it wants to move. Because everything that's actually moving is in circulation. Things are changing all the time. And if we're keeping them from changing, we have to use force to do that. So, like, what direction does this want to go now can come from your playing with it, matching it and making it bigger. And also inviting, for those of you who do coaching, asking people to match what they're doing and making it bigger will bring up all kinds of stuff. And it may bring up where that originally started, the memory, that's involved with that. So it can be great fun. And also, somewhat challenging, but fear melters. When in doubt, fear melters. So All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I see some new people that I don't know. Welcome. And if you've been here before and I missed you, welcome again. And before we leave, let's do some of Here I Am. Now, what's your Here I Am today? Is your Here I Am or Here I Am or Here I Am and I'm so glad. So this is actually a great love scoop. Here I am and I'm so glad. And here you are, and I'm so glad. Thank you, thank you. And until next time, please stay and play as long as you want to, and come on to Mighty Networks, particularly if you would like any kind of attention. It's available. Attention is available. Just come to the store, and it's free. All right. Mwah. Bye now.